It is summer 217 BC. Northern Italy is tense, and the war's momentum is shifting fast. Hannibal Barca, still early in his career, continues moving south with a bold plan to pressure the Roman Republic. Rome's Senate reacts urgently after recent defeats, fearing that Hannibal's confidence will grow with every success. 2 new consuls are appointed, and fresh legions are raised from Rome and allied Latin communities. The challenge is direction. Hannibal's next move is uncertain, and Rome must cover more than one approach. One Roman force positions near Arretium, watching western routes. Another holds near Ariminum, guarding the east. Hannibal chooses mobility over confrontation, slipping between defenses instead of meeting them head-on. When the Roman commander realizes he has been outmaneuvered, he gathers his men and follows in haste. The pursuit is fast enough that careful scouting becomes difficult, and the distance between armies closes quickly. Hannibal passes strong points without stopping, keeping the Romans focused on chasing rather than planning. On June 20th, Hannibal's route takes him along the northern shore of Lake Trasimene, an area shaped by ridges, woods, and narrow paths. Looking over the terrain, Hannibal sees an opportunity, a place where a marching column could be compressed and confused. His goal is not a standard battlefield. He wants timing, positioning, and terrain to do the heavy work. Under cover of darkness, much of his force moves into the forested slopes overlooking the lakeside road. Local allies from the region join Hannibal's ranks, drawn by momentum, opportunity, and long-standing rivalries. By dawn, the stage is set, a hidden force above, a narrow route below, and a lake forming a natural boundary. The Roman column arrives in the early morning and notices smoke from a Carthaginian camp ahead. Then the weather turns decisive. A thick mist rolls across the lake and drifts inland, reducing visibility to a few steps. In this kind of fog, a long marching column naturally stretches and loses clear coordination. At the front, Roman troops see disciplined heavy infantry ahead, positioned as a firm barrier on the road. The Romans at the front prepare to push through, but the rest of the column behind them cannot clearly see what is happening. Above the road, Hannibal's hidden units hold position, watching for the exact moment when the Roman movement fully commits. When the Roman column slows and compresses near the lakeshore, Hannibal chooses the moment to act. From the hills and tree lines, Carthaginian and allied troops move down in coordinated waves, fast, controlled, and planned. In dense fog, a large formation cannot easily form a clean line, and small gaps become big problems. The lake limits space on one side, and the hills rise on the other, turning the road into a narrow corridor. Hannibal's positioning uses the landscape itself, pressure from multiple directions, with little room for the Romans to reset. The result is not one clean clash, but many small engagements happening at once, each shaped by visibility and terrain. Roman discipline remains strong at the front, but coordination across the whole column becomes difficult in the mist. Hannibal's plan relies on containment. Hold the front in place while pressure builds along the length of the column. In confined space, a fatigue rises quickly, signals fail, and units can become isolated from one another. Some groups attempt to move away from the tight corridor, but the shoreline and marshy edges complicate movement. By midday, the Roman force is heavily disrupted, parts still resisting, parts searching for clearer ground, all under pressure. A portion of the Roman front manages to push forward and break out of the most confined section. But once separated, they face a new reality. They are cut off from the larger force behind them. Later, Carthaginian detachments locate these survivors and surround them near a nearby settlement, offering terms. Ancient sources describe widespread captures and the collapse of an entire Roman consular army in a single day. For Hannibal, the victory is strategic. It removes a major Roman field army and amplifies his reputation across Italy. For Rome, it is a shock, proof that speed and courage alone cannot replace scouting and terrain awareness. Lake Trasimene becomes a lesson in visibility, geography, and decision-making under pressure. It also shows Hannibal's signature approach. Avoid predictable battles. Force the enemy into an environment you control. Yet the campaign is far from over. Hannibal remains deep in enemy territory, far from reinforcements and supplies. Rome responds by adapting, changing leadership and strategy, determined not to be drawn into the same trap again. Within a year, both sides will meet again in another defining moment of the war, at Cannae. Lake Trasimene was not just a battle, it was a demonstration of how weather and terrain can become weapons without a single invention. It reminds us that in history, the map can matter as much as the army, and the moment can turn on a single morning of mist. If you want the next episode, Cannae, the most studied battlefield maneuver in ancient history, tell me and I'll write it the same way.